presentations of an illness that
You're gonna
make
like what I'm
no
gonna say
freaking
after this.
sense,
Yeah.
but they get a lot of attention.
On TikTok, or like views, comments, likes, whatever, then TikTok rewards them by bumping them up in the algorithm. This is where I get frustrated.
Don't even open that can of worms.
Like horrifying.
Horrifying. Not allowed to cry or have emotions in your house.
Like, do you really need to know what Zymoglophicate is? Or
oh, Jessica.
Everyone has a favorite. Everyone does. Okay, today we're gonna talk about TikTok, Uptick, TikTok, Tukey. I don't know, just read with your eyes what the fucking name of this title is because it's too many T's. And I can't. It's something, it's like ticks, which Lauren will define what that is.
Yeah.
But it's like this phenomenon of like mental health issues becoming like popular and cool and trendy from, I guess, specifically the TikTok platform or something.
Yep.
It's pretty fascinating. So Lauren, I guess first define what like a tick is. We all know what TikTok is, but what's a tick?
Okay. And I'm going to read this so it sounds like very official and legitimate. Okay. A tick is a sudden, rapid, recurrent, non-rhythmic movement. Or,
what does that mean?
Okay. So sudden, I mean, that's self-explanatory. Rapid, it's quick. Recurrent, it's happening multiple times over and over again. Non-rhythmic, how do I define that?
Yeah, I don't know if that, just like random.
Yeah. Oh, like it's not like a certain like da-na,
beat.
Da-na, da-na, da-na. Yeah. It's
percussion,
like random.
beat.
Yes. Movement, or it can be vocalization. So like sound or word. Okay. Ticks can be transient, which means like they happen for a period of time and then they go away and never come back.
Oh.
Or they can
know
be
that.
yes, or they can
it's
be
like
chronic.
Due to trauma or something.
No.
Oh.
No. False.
But then why would they go and come back?
That's actually the most common type of tick, is a tick that is transient. So a child has it for a period of time and then it goes away and never comes back. That's the most common type of tick.
I didn't hear. Mac was just told me to turn my computer. Doesn't matter. Keep going.
Okay. All right. Anyway, ticks are typically starting in childhood. Okay. It's the most common age range of life for them to start.
Mm-hmm.
They wax and wane in severity, which means like there's times when they're more severe and there's times when they're less severe. And there's usually a lot of other things going on with the kid. So the kind of like trinity that we see most often is tics, ADHD, and OCD.
Yeah.
And then sometimes autism is thrown in there too.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's tics.
Okay.
And then there's something that we see that often gets labeled as a tic, but we know it's not the same thing neurologically speaking.
Oh,
okay.
what is it?
So this is like what we're going to talk about today. All right. Is that we had noticed since the pandemic this like huge uptick in people presenting with quote unquote tics. Okay, into mental health clinics.
Oh, okay.
And pretty quickly providers were noticing these are not tics like we think of. These are not neurologic tics. Okay. The difference
like
between
or something?
Yeah. So the difference between them, the tics that we saw like had a huge increase since COVID, were more females, whereas like neurologic tics have a higher rate in males. Okay. So more females. They were starting between 12 and 25 years of age instead of normally with neurologic tics, we see them start like 7 to 9 years old.
Oh, okay. So these are the trend stats and facts.
These are the sorry. Yeah. They started very suddenly. They would peak in severity within hours to days, which is not typical of like neurologic tics. And it was like these crazy movements, like crazy big arm movements, like, clapping, throwing things. I mean, I saw some fucking crazy shit. I had this girl come in who was, I think at the time she was probably 18 or 19 and had never had a tic in her life. And then all of a sudden started having tics at 18 or 19 years old, which like immediately I was like, okay.
What was she doing? What was her tic?
It was like Like that, I am not joking. It was
Her
the
whole full body
most
convulsion?
dramatic thing.
Yeah.
And it was like over and over again. And then there would be multiple different ones. And there would be like random, like, you know, like that, or like shouting out random things. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's what I want to know. Like,
do you think
all
I
of a sudden
started
you're just
working
saying dinosaur.
yesterday? Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm
What'd you
not
say
sure
to her?
who you're fooling. I mean, the key was I didn't pay any attention to it.
Ignore.
None.
Yeah.
Because her goal was to get me
Attention.
to freak out and be like, oh my gosh, look at these
You're
ticks. What's
sick.
going on in your brain? And so I just didn't pay attention to it. I was like,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, the ticks that are, you know, the TikTok phenomenon ticks happen way faster, more common in females, older age range, very fast peak, you know, to severity. Okay.
Oh.
So like they rapidly worsened. They were big dramatic movements.
Yeah.
And then there was also a lot of vocal tics of like cursing and saying inappropriate things, which that can happen in true neurologic tics like Tourette's, but it's not that common. And usually it's like the tics that you would see with the TikTok tics where like clearly this is like this person just wants to say inappropriate shit and they're masking it as a tic.
Yeah.
You know?
Just to get a reaction.
Yeah. Or to be able to like say whatever they want, you know?
Yeah.
Like
fuck
hairy
you,
nipple.
bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that doesn't sound like a real neurologic tic, but thank you for your attempt.
Yeah. All right. But it's not just tics though, right?
Right.
What's like another like hot, sexy little mental health thing that like social media is like made cool?
So, okay. So like tics were like the first big wave on TikTok. It was like the first big wave where we saw like they were trending on TikTok, and then all of a sudden we saw this huge increase in clients coming and saying they had tics, right?
Okay.
The second wave was autism. So I mean, I remember when this, like, I remember 2020, 2021 when this happened, and like I all of a sudden had, you know, droves of people coming in saying they had autism. And statistically speaking, no.
What was wrong? Like what, or how were they different?
They were just, you know, they were reading like quote unquote criteria online or seeing videos of people talking about their autism. And then they're like saying these vague symptoms that you could have with any condition or just like being a normal human. You can have those, and it's not necessarily because you have autism. I'm trying to think of like specifics.
I don't like parties.
Yeah. It was like, you know, like, or like I'm socially awkward. It's like, okay, well, so are millions of other people. That doesn't mean they have autism, you know?
Correct.
So yeah, I mean, so like we've seen this, and I think the most recent one was dissociative identity disorder.
Oh, really?
Which that was like the most recent TikTok trend mental health problem that people were, you know, deciding that all of a sudden that they had that diagnosis, which like a lot of the mental health community doesn't even.
What did you say?
Like that was like the most recent one where they diagnoses.
Oh, diagnosis. I thought I didn't know what you said. I wasn't listening. Sorry.
And like a lot of the mental health community doesn't even believe that it's real.
Oh,
you know?
Really?
Yeah.
To dissociate at all?
They don't believe that dissociative identity disorder is real. Because do you know what that is? That's basically multiple personality disorder.
Yeah.
They don't. That's not the same as dissociating. You can dissociate because of like PTSD trauma, or panic or whatever.
Yeah. But
that is not the same as dissociative identity disorder, where all of a sudden you wake up and then you're a different person, and you have no memory of the person that you really are, you know, and then you have 6 different personalities. Like there's a lot of debate about.
We can't. I'm
going to
go because I'm fascinated.
We'll go down a rabbit hole with that.
Yeah. All right. So. Okay, so there are multiple like mental health diagnoses that are like filtering through TikTok and social media, and people are picking it up and whatever. So is that like considered like a what's this? So talk about like conversion disorder.
Okay.
And how this like is linked to it or whatever.
So when I would see a client like this come in, and I can tell pretty quickly, this is not a neurologic condition, right? This is not something wrong with this person's brain structure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think of like 3 categories. Either it's what we used to call conversion disorder. Now it's called functional neurologic disorder. But it's the same thing. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what that is though. What is that?
So that is like an unconscious presentation of symptoms. Okay. So you are not consciously making your body do these things. Okay. So like we've seen, it's more frequent in girls. It's most frequent in teenage girls. So like we would see a teenage girl who all of a sudden was like paralyzed on one side of her body. Okay. And then you find out like she had been raped the week before.
Oh my God, I just smiled.
So
Great.
it's most often in response to some kind of like traumatic event. Okay.
But it's their body respond like is it really it feels paralyzed.
Yes,
okay.
yes. Like they are not feigning these symptoms. They're not faking it. Okay.
Okay. It's just manifesting in a biological way.
Yes.
Like
so same with
symptoms.
like, have you ever heard of pseudo seizures? You know what pseudo seizures are?
No.
Okay. So pseudo seizures are people are actually having seizure episodes, but when you do an EEG, there's no seizure activity in their brain.
That's so crazy.
Okay. So that's like a type of functional neurologic disorder, or what we used to call conversion disorder.
Okay. Why is that? How is that linked to this though?
Okay, because some, you have to think like some of these presentations is a conversion disorder, right? Is it like this person is unintentionally producing these symptoms because of something that has happened in their life, right? Yeah. Okay. And then there's the other side of it, which is like either what we call malingering or factitious disorder. Okay, so malingering is like you are producing some kind of symptom in order to get something out of it, what we call secondary gain. So there's an ulterior motive there, right?
Not what's it called, Munchausen's?
No.
Okay.
So you could be malingering to get disability, say, okay?
Oh, you want to check
or
from the gov.
malingering
Got it.
to get out of school, right? Because you are so disabled you can't get out of school, right?
Got it.
So malingering is like you're purposely doing it for some kind of secondary gain, some kind of like reward. Okay.
Yeah.
Factitious, which is Munchausen's.
Yeah. Okay.
Is like you are faking the symptom simply to be sick. Like you just want to be in the sick role. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want attention. You just want to be in the sick role.
Which, I mean, that doesn't sound very dissimilar. I mean, that's like an extreme version of like the uptick, TikTok, whatever. Like so like within this like adolescent development like age range, right? Like that it's identity formation.
Correct.
And so trying to figure out like where is my place in my little world. And like back in the day it was like where do you sit at lunch? Like the jocks, the stoners, like the emos,
the nerds,
nerds. And now it's like I'm with the cutters or I have tics or like that's like mental health things or like it's like cool to be different and have a mental health.
I'm neurodivergent. I'm different. I'm unique. I'm special.
Yeah. And there's like there are more opportunities for that age group to attach to an identity. To an identity. Because there are more of them, honestly.
Yeah.
And number two, because there are more opportunities. What'd you say?
You just said number two.
I did.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah. This is why I'm going to Canyon Ranch in 2 weeks. I
disrupted your train of thought.
There are a lot of opportunities to have multiple personalities or whatever.
Yeah.
Like TikTok.
Yeah. So it's like identity formation. I'm looking for somewhere to belong and fit in this world. And if I have a tic, then now I'm part of this neurodivergent community or this Tourette's community or, now I'm part of the autism community.
Yeah. And so like because they're in that space and development, it makes them more susceptible.
Yeah.
When they're scrolling and they see somebody who has something and they're like whatever.
Yeah. And then there's like this whole phenomenon of like, the challenge videos.
No.
Okay.
Wait.
So
no. Go.
So this is more specific to TikTok than other social media platforms where if you go through this hashtag of tics or autism, okay, these people are basically trying to like one up each other with their videos. Like the more severe your presentation is, the more likes and follows you're going to get. Right. So that's like another way to get attention is like this big dramatic presentations of an illness that make no freaking sense. Yeah. Right. But they get a lot of attention.
And when they get a lot of attention on TikTok or like views, comments, likes, whatever, then TikTok rewards them by bumping them up in the algorithm. And then big tech, because I don't know what, like, big pharma, I'm just gonna call them big tech, like, gets money, whatever, I don't know, but it's like good for TikTok.
Yeah.
So they
User
reinforce
engagement.
this crazy shit.
Yep.
So that I don't fucking know. Yeah. Anyways, so like social media is the devil.
Social media is the devil.
Is what I'm hearing and knowing and seeing.
This is correct.
Okay. And then when this like phenomenon happens, this I don't even know, do we say contagion yet? Have we used that word?
It's basically contagion, yeah.
Define contagion, because people are going to think of the movie.
Yeah. So you can have contagion with like viruses, but you can also have contagion in mental health. So contagion in mental health is there's some kind of like problem behavior or symptom cluster. And this usually happens in teenagers. It usually happens in teenage girls. Okay. All of a sudden, everyone in that circle, that social circle, starts having the same symptoms and behaviors or problems.
Yeah. And so social media is like a platform for contagion?
It allows this like rapid, massive increase of contagion. Because now instead of just comparing yourself to the
kids in school,
the kids in your class, you're comparing yourself to millions of people all over the world, right?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And so like a pitfall, I mean, there are 1,000, but like when you have all these kids, girls, whatever, wrapped up in this tick contagion, neurodivergent contagion, like whatever it is, then they start flooding these mental health clinics or doctor's offices. And then what does that do, like on the other end, like for you?
Yeah. So it definitely clogs up the system.
Yeah.
You know, which I'm not going to say these kids don't need help. Oh. No. Sure, that too.
I mean, I would.
That's the only reason I'm in this.
Keep going.
If that was the reason, I would be a plastic surgeon.
That's true. Or a derm.
Yeah, sure. So it does clog up the system. Not that I would not help these kids, because a lot of them, like, something's going on and they need help. Okay. But there can end up being a lot of unnecessary referrals. So like a lot of these kids are going to get referred to a neurologist when they don't really need to be referred to a neurologist, or like they're going to end up getting an MRI and an EEG and all these things. Okay. So there probably ends up being a lot of needless medical treatment, okay, or screenings.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
It's like an unnecessary like use of resources.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think another part of it is that people are so afraid to tell these girls that this is not real.
Oh, wow.
That they end up making it worse, you know?
What do you mean?
Like, I think schools especially, and like parents, they're kind of like tiptoeing around it. And this was what I would see, you know, and not confronting it. And so then you're just kind of like feeding the beast.
So just ignoring it?
No, they're not ignoring it, but they're kind of feeding into it, like saying like, oh, we got to go to this doctor. Oh, wait, they said nothing's wrong. We got to go to that doctor. Or no, wait, now we got to go get that imaging, and now we got to go get that EEG instead of being like,
you're fine.
Yeah. And I get it, because I think if you have no
background,
if you have no medical background, like, who are you to know that it's not real?
And like teenage girls are convincing.
Yeah, they can be.
The world is their stage.
So yeah, it's just like unnecessary medical treatments. A lot of the time you end up feeding the beast and like paying more attention to it than should be paid. And that just makes the problem bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's probably hard to discriminate. Like I think about, I don't know, like it's hard, like suicide threats, right? Like that's already hard to discriminate what's a real suicidal.
The boy who cried wolf.
Yeah. Right. And like, it just overcomplicates everything. Yeah. It muddies the waters. It's like overexposure. So like professionals get not numb, but
jaded.
I guess like not like it doesn't feel as big anymore. Or like it doesn't feel like it's important.
You lose your perspective.
Yeah, all of that stuff. And so what do you think is the, I guess, like biggest proponent of this new like mental health contagion?
What do you mean?
Like, what do you think is like surging it?
I think that social media has just figured out how to target the most vulnerable age group and population.
Yeah.
And like these this age group, these girls already struggle
What's
with.
the age? Let's drop that. It's like what?
So the most vulnerable age for girls is 13 to 15, and there's some sites that say like 11 to 15.
I kind of believe that.
And for boys, it's closer to like 15, 16, 17. Which basically is based on like puberty, when puberty starts. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
So these girls already struggle with issues of like, where do I fit into the world? Wanting to connect to people, needing to feel seen, wanting attention.
Yeah.
And social media is like the perfect
breeding room for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just perfect.
All right. So again, social media is the devil.
Once again.
And like, obviously in a perfect world, no one would have it.
Right.
You know, but that's just like not the world we live in. So like what, like, okay, parents monitor social media more and like how, I don't know, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
So like, what can you do?
Yeah. I try to stress that we have to be really conscious of when kids are getting social media.
Like
right?
age.
Yeah, age. Okay. Because there is a really, really sensitive age period. And if you expose them during that age range, there's a potential that you're causing damage that maybe is irreversible.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
and that sounds scary.
Well, what should they do then? Like,
so I think delaying is number one. Number one is delay the age at which your kid gets social media. It's number one.
Two, like what?
If it's a girl, I mean, I'm gonna say like 16. And I know people are gonna roll their eyes and be like, she's honestly, ridiculous. But like that's based on a shitload of research.
I think that's even early. I just feel like
I know.
Like, anyways, but okay, 16 social. What about smartphone?
Same. I'm gonna say same. Like, okay, because and look, okay, here's the problem. Like, I can make these recommendations, and I also recognize that this is way harder than it sounds, because if you're, and I know I hear the same rebuttals every time. Well, if I don't give my kid a smartphone, then they're the only one, they're going to be left out of stuff. And unfortunately, there is a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
That is true. You know, that like if your kid doesn't have a smartphone, then they're not on the group chats, they're not on the Discord app.
Yeah, but they can didn't use like get a flip phone, get a brick, get a whatever. Or does that not
but they don't have that.
What do you mean?
You can be on a group text, but you're not on like, so like if you have like a flip phone, or if you have, you know, they have like those Gab wireless phones that's like looks like an iPhone, but it has no social media whatsoever. You can't get on like the, you know, Discord is like the big, have you heard of that? It's like an app where they basically like group text.
Like a group me?
Kind of like a group me. Yes. It's kind of like a group me, but you can't have that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, or like, you know, they make plans through Snapchat now or whatever, you know, so it's like,
but who, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So like I can say all day, like, who cares? Whatever. Tell your kid to buck up. But then it's hard when you're the parent, you're actually seeing that happen. Okay. So this goes back to, this is why, you know, I do talks for parents at schools. This is why there's organizations who are talking to parents and trying to get parents to come together and make collective, you know, decisions about what to do with social media, because it only works if like a large group of parents do it together so that kids are not left out.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it kind of, and it's like, what are we modeling?
Yeah.
Right? Like, we've talked about like, okay, like delay social media use. Like it sucks. It's terrible. Like here, like contagion, mental health shit, all that stuff. And like, how are we modeling uses, like the use of our phone in front of like our 3, 4, 5-year-old?
Correct.
Like when we're on the couch and you talked a lot about this. Like it's individual devices are like a selfish act because you're in control of when things are moving and whatever. Like I think about it, like my kids watch too much TV. I don't care. But like after school or like after bath or like Friday, okay? Like Fridays are like movie
night. Yeah.
And once it's the weekend, mom's choosing, like, because I can't watch. Anyways. And so, but like, if our asses are on that smelly couch, like no phones, you should not be on your phone.
No.
And like, this was sad and this is real. Rhodes walked in this morning. He goes, Mommy news? You're watching the news? Because I do that every morning. And then he's like, and mommy coffee, because I always have my coffee. And then, because I am guilty of this, and he goes, mommy phone.
Aww.
I know. And I was like, yeah. Sorry. Like, I felt fucking terrible. Because, like, I am guilty of that right in the morning, because it's like, it's on do not disturb. And so it's like, email, or like, whatever. Yeah. And so then I'm like, hey, gotta work. Yeah. And so, but now I'm like, okay, well, I clearly, like, it's going up.
I know.
But anyway, so the whole point of that is, like, being, like, increasing your awareness and intention around what you're doing in front of your kids.
Yep.
When you're with them.
So I think I mentioned this in one of our other episodes, but there was some research that came out over the summer that said the greatest predictor of kids' cell phone use, smartphone use, social media use is parents' use. Yeah. It's the greatest predictor. Yeah. And like the most modifiable thing. You know, like if you cut down on your own phone use as a parent, your child is less likely to have a smartphone addiction. Yeah. And like also... like, why are you on? Because I know, like, with some, I mean, I have clients, and I'm sure you do too, or parents of clients who are like, I have to get shit done. Yeah. Like, give them, like, I don't care if they're, like, scrolling on Instagram or, like, whatever. And then they're like, they don't want to hang out with me, like, all of that stuff. It doesn't, like, you don't have to sit with your kid and, like, chat about their day when they're 16. Like, they also don't have to have Instagram at 16. Yeah. Like, what you want to teach them is how to interact with humans. Right. Face to face. Right. And that doesn't always need to be like a verbal exchange. It could be sit on the couch, watch a movie. It could be I read a book while you do your homework. Whatever. It's just proximity. Yeah. And like parents don't want to do that shit because they want a break. And like, I get it. Obviously, I want a break too. I did in the morning. My kid would call me out. But like, show some fucking grit and be around your kid. Yeah. Like, supervise your kid. Yep. Throw some energy out. Yep. Like, just do it. You do it once. And like, you're modeling what a relationship is like. Right. Right. And it's easier. It is easy to just say, I'm going to throw the TV on. I'm going to give an iPad. Yeah. I'm like, I always tell parents, I'm like, look, I am not naive. I have 3 children. I'm usually by myself. I cannot wait to see what happens when they're like 12, 15. I know. Like, oh my God. Hopefully I'm not like eating my words. Yeah. But I'm like, I have 3 kids. They're very close in age. Very close in age. I am usually by myself. Yep. And I daily have to remind myself, like, don't resort to the TV. Your kids don't watch TV during the week at all, huh? We have made some exceptions on that, but it's like very, like if you clean the playroom, you get 10 minutes. Oh, okay. I like that though. It's a reward. It's not a given. Older, maybe. Yeah, I mean, when my kids were really little, this was different. Like now, Mac lets his kids watch YouTube. I forgot. We'll talk about that later, Mac. I'm gonna lecture you on that later. He told me, and I was like, "You're in trouble." I'm throwing you out. So, like, I have to really be intentional and think about this all the time, and like catch myself when I'm trying to cook dinner and they're aggravating me. Not be like, okay, just turn on the TV so y'all can just get the fuck away from me. Like I have to be really intentional about it and be like, okay, come try to help me. Come do this, come do that, And like also I'm not saying don't do any fucking screens. And I feel like we've talked about this a lot, but I don't care. Like, because I am that person at the end of the day, and I'm like trying to, like when Rick's out of town, which he is right now, and I'm like, Bluey feels great. Like what? Like I'm like, get on the fucking for 20 minutes so I can unload the dishwasher, do the laundry, whatever. What I'm not doing is saying, go grab my phone and like, accidentally hit Instagram or I don't know something or YouTube. I mean, it's a screen in general at any age. Increases the risk of exposure to something that will attach to something in the brain, and then increases the risk of maybe a tick. Yeah. Talk, tick, talk, tick. Or, I get nervous at parties, so I have autism. Or this girl feels like everyone's out to get her, and so she just doesn't want to be here anymore, and I feel like that, so now I'm going to cut like her. Yeah. So the more opportunities they have to interact with humans, the less risk of a real or
what? Made up?
Feigned. Yeah.
Oh, feigned.
Feigned.
Oh my God. So proper. Mental health disorder or whatever. All right. So solutions, takeaways, what can we do? So you introduced me to MAMA, all caps, Mama.
Yes.
Tell the people a little bit about what that is.
Okay. So it's an organization, Moms Against Media Addiction. Started by a New York Times journalist.
Okay.
And they have, I think, like 14 different, 20 to 1 different chapters in 14 states, I want to say.
I was about to say, it's a big jump
they're
14.
just now opening a chapter in Louisiana. And their goal is really to go after the social media platforms. That's like their mission. They're trying to go after them, hold them accountable, like bring
That's
about legislature.
I mean, like also like they're new. That's a little like lofty of a goal.
So
Yes.
they kind of coming from that angle. I come from more of the angle of like, that's probably not going to happen for decades. And so I'm going to try to teach parents to what to do right now with their kids, because I don't want them to wait for the policy to change. And then their kid's growing up and it's too late now, you know? So it's like, we as parents have to fucking do something now.
Yeah.
Okay,
and it goes back to that grit of like, I know saying no is hard.
Yeah.
And like following through on an expectation or a limit is hard. And do it.
Yeah.
Like, you are grown.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't do drugs.
Right.
Like, you have grit when it comes to that. You don't have grit around a fucking phone or an Instagram.
Yep.
Like, you have grit around be home at 12 and you're not, then you're fucking grounded.
Yep.
But you don't have grit to deal with a complaint because you said no to Instagram. Like, buck up, buttercup.
Right.
Anyways.
So Mama is one.
Height.
Wait till 8th is like a big thing. Which I think is great, although I don't like the 8th thing. Like, 8th is not what we need to wait till. We need to wait till like,
so don't follow that one. Don't
16. Like, it's a good thing to start with. It's a good thing to start with. Jonathan Haidt.
Keep saying height.
I know. I thought it was height. I thought it was height, but I think it's hate. I think he pronounces it hate.
How do y'all do?
We need to fact check that. We need to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure it's hate. Anyway, he wrote Anxious Generation, which is a book that every parent should read. I don't care how old your kid is. If you are a parent, you should read that book. And I did the audio. You like, whatever. Because it applies to every parent.
But like,
now.
What are we learning in the book or whatever?
So he talks about how smartphones and social media and video games have literally rewired kids' brains. And I mean, he basically says everything that like I've been saying in my presentation for
so he stole your ideas.
3 years.
So really,
no, because I mean, we looked at the same research. It's the same research, you know?
I know, but like he got there faster than you.
He did.
You would have been a millionaire.
I know. Well, I'm, whatever. I don't have any clout like he does. He's a legit dude.
Clout.
So he goes through all the research and breaks it down and says exactly what is going on to the brain. What are all the scary consequences? And then talking about like what can parents do. So he is a big proponent of delaying. He's a big proponent of like kids having other types of phones that are not smartphones. He's a big proponent of outside play, extracurricular activities, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, great.
So his book is awesome. Highly recommend it. Every parent should read it.
Okay, great. And then Common Sense.
Common Sense Media is a nonprofit that has a bunch of research that is publicly available about screen time, social media, smartphone, etc. I actually use a lot of their stats in my presentation. So
if you want to hire Lauren for a PD, just reach out. I mean, for real.
Yes, I have a presentation I've been doing for like 3 years at schools for parents. And it's all about smartphones, social media, screen time, and like what it does to kids' brains and what parents should do about it.
Yeah. Anyways, have a blessed day, and I hope we really just made your life happier today after this.
Put a little spring in your step
everything
there.
Wrong. No, I'm just kidding. That's what it kind of sounded
It's so hopeful. The future is hopeful.
Yeah.
Super hopeful. Okay. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Little Brain Campaign.
Please like, subscribe, and follow.
See you next time.